In 2006, humanity did something strange. We didn't destroy Pluto. We didn't lose it. We simply erased it. With one scientific decision, the ninth planet, the distant world generations grew up memorizing, was stripped of its title. Pluto was downgraded, demoted, reclassified as a dwarf planet. To many, it became insignificant, a frozen leftover, a chunk of ancient debris wandering the edge of the solar system. For decades, that was Pluto's reputation. Small, dead, irrelevant, a forgotten exile drifting in darkness. But then, we finally went there. And what we found was not a lifeless rock. It was not quiet. It was not simple. It was something far more unsettling. Because Pluto is not dead. It is one of the most alien, violent, and scientifically shocking worlds humanity has ever seen. A place where frozen nitrogen boils, where mountains float like icebergs, where red snow stains the landscape, where black skies stretch endlessly overhead, and where beneath miles of ice, a hidden ocean may still move in darkness. Pluto is not the corpse we imagined. It is a living, frozen nightmare. To understand how shocking this discovery truly was, imagine traveling farther than any human has ever gone, farther than Mars, past Jupiter, beyond Saturn, crossing Uranus and Neptune, into the Kuiper Belt, a distant graveyard of icy worlds beyond the major planets. NASA's New Horizons spacecraft spent nearly 10 years racing through this abyss at speeds exceeding 30,000 miles per hour. As it traveled, the sun began to shrink, slowly, relentlessly. What once dominated Earth's sky became smaller, dimmer, weaker. By the time New Horizons approached Pluto, sunlight was nearly 1,600 times fainter than on Earth. At noon on Pluto, the sun would not feel warm. It would look more like an extremely bright star. The sky would not be blue. It would remain almost entirely black even during daytime. Imagine standing on an alien world, watching permanent twilight stretch across frozen plains, knowing the sun that created life on Earth is now little more than a distant spark. This is Pluto. Then came July 14, 2015. Humanity saw Pluto clearly for the first time, and immediately everything changed, because staring back at us was something impossible. A giant, pale heart, stretching across the dwarf planet's surface, perfectly visible, brilliant against the darkness. To the public it seemed charming, cute, even poetic, but planetary scientists understood something far more disturbing. That heart, known as Sputnik Planitia, was not a symbol. It was a wound. A colossal impact basin over 1,000 miles wide, and inside it lay one of the strangest landscapes ever discovered. A massive glacier composed almost entirely of frozen nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide. A toxic sea of volatile ice. And here is where Pluto becomes truly terrifying. This glacier is not frozen in the way we imagine ice. It moves, it churns, it convects. Beneath Pluto's crust, residual radioactive heat from its core slowly rises upward. This tiny warmth is enough to make nitrogen ice behave almost like lava in slow motion, boiling, circulating, constantly renewing itself. The result is a planetary surface that erases damage. Impact craters disappear over time. Meteor strikes are swallowed. Entire geological scars vanish. Anything that falls into Pluto's frozen heart is consumed. This means Pluto is geologically active, something scientists never expected from such a distant world. Its heart is not decorative, it is dynamic, alive in its own frozen way. A toxic engine pulsing at the edge of the solar system. But the nightmare expands further. At the borders of Sputnik Planitia, massive mountain ranges rise into the black sky. These peaks tower as high as 11,000 feet, comparable to Earth's great mountains. But here, rock plays almost no role, because at minus 390 degrees Fahrenheit, water ice transforms. It becomes harder than granite, stronger than steel. On Pluto, water is bedrock. These mountains are made almost entirely of frozen water ice, gigantic jagged structures. And because water ice is less dense than surrounding nitrogen ice, these mountains do not simply stand still. Some float. Entire mountain blocks drift slowly across nitrogen glaciers like colossal frozen ships. Imagine witnessing a mountain range the size of the Alps, silently moving toward you, across a poisoned white plain under an endless black sky. This is not science fiction. This is Pluto. And then there is the snow. Not white, not pure, red. Dark crimson frost covers portions of Pluto's mountains and plains. This eerie coloration is caused by tholins, complex organic compounds formed when ultraviolet sunlight interacts with methane in Pluto's atmosphere. Over time, these compounds settle like dust, painting the world in shades of blood red. So Pluto's surface becomes a surreal combination of white nitrogen seas, black skies, floating steel-hard mountains, and red chemical snowfall. It is breathtaking and deeply unsettling. For years, scientists assumed Pluto was little more than a frozen shell. But deeper investigation revealed something even stranger. Pluto may be hiding an underground ocean. Here is why that matters. Sputnik Planitia is enormous. Its sheer mass should have caused Pluto to gradually reorient itself over millions of years, essentially tipping over. But Pluto did not, which suggests a hidden counterbalance, a denser region beneath the basin. The best current explanation: a subsurface liquid ocean. Beneath Pluto's icy crust, protected by immense pressure and faint internal heat, may lie a dark ocean of liquid water. In one of the coldest places in our solar system, there may still be water. And where liquid water exists, a terrifying possibility emerges. Could life survive there? We don't know. But the idea alone changes everything, because Pluto transforms from a dead frozen outcast into a world with active geology, atmospheric chemistry, and potentially habitable internal environments. When New Horizons prepared to leave, it turned back for one final glimpse, and what it captured was unforgettable. Pluto, eclipsing the sun, surrounded by a glowing blue halo, a blue atmosphere, thin, fragile, but real. Pluto has weather. Pluto has atmospheric cycles. Pluto has haze layers extending over 100 miles high. Despite being nearly 4 billion miles away, this frozen world still possesses complexity that rivals major planets. And Pluto's strangeness does not end there. Orbiting Pluto is Charon, its largest moon. But Charon is so massive relative to Pluto that they behave unlike almost any planet-moon system we know. Instead of Charon simply orbiting Pluto, both bodies orbit a shared center of mass, located in empty space between them. They are gravitational partners, a binary world, locked together forever. If you stood on one hemisphere of Pluto, Charon would hang permanently overhead, massive, silent, unmoving. Never rising, never setting. A constant celestial watcher. On the opposite side, you would never see it at all. And Charon bears scars of its own. Its northern pole is stained deep red, a region nicknamed Mordor Macula. This stain is created by gases escaping Pluto, traveling through space, then freezing onto Charon's surface. Even here, Pluto's influence spreads outward. The two worlds share atmosphere, chemistry, and cosmic isolation. Together, they rule the Kuiper Belt like exiled monarchs, surrounded by smaller chaotic moons tumbling unpredictably through darkness. A shattered kingdom at the edge of sunlight. We may have stripped Pluto of its official title, but titles do not define significance. Pluto is not merely a dwarf planet. It is a preserved relic of solar system formation, a dynamic geological system, a world of extraordinary extremes, a place where science repeatedly underestimated reality. And perhaps that is Pluto's greatest lesson. The universe does not care about our assumptions. What we dismiss as small may hide unimaginable complexity. What we call insignificant may redefine planetary science. Pluto is not the broken leftover we once imagined. It is a freezing archive of cosmic history, a world of toxic glaciers, floating mountains, subsurface oceans, red snow, blue skies, and a beating, frozen heart. At the very edge of our solar system, long after humanity is gone, long after Earth changes forever, Pluto will remain. Silent, dark, beautiful, terrifying. Still dancing with Charon beneath distant starlight, still guarding the outer frontier, still reminding us that sometimes the universe's greatest monsters are not the loudest, but the ones we almost ignored.